The Lord be with you. What a blessing it is to be gathered here with you today on this extremely sultry Monday afternoon. It is about 100 degrees on the U.S. East Coast. I learned, thanks Blue Sky, about a thing called wet bulb temperature, which is not nearly as salacious as it sounds, but is in fact much more lethal. So everybody, please stay safe. Air conditioning is your friend. Ice, water, shade. These things are very, very good. Please do not boil. Hi, everyone. This is the ADHD Preacher's Workshop. I am the ADHD Preacher. ADHD Preacher. I talk sometimes so quickly that the consonants just sort of... I am very, very blessed to be here with you today. And have the opportunity to, do some stuff with the Revised Common Lectionary. We're going to spend some time. We're going to read the Revised Common Lectionary. Ideally, this time I will have remembered to turn the microphone on, which I didn't last week. It was hilarious. And then after we do some lectionary reading, we'll do the lectionary reading again, only this time with interpretation and commentary and comedy. And then maybe some Greek. Depends on how long the first two things take and how energetic I'm feeling at the end of the process. So, with all of those things laid in train and you emotionally prepared for all that is to come, we start, as we always do, with a word of prayer. Friends, let us pray. God of the sizzling desert, God of the howling wasteland, God of the frozen tundra, God of the sweltering forest, God of all the world, I ask your blessings on these, your people today, those who are full of fear and those who are full of courage, those who are full of anger and those who are full of sadness, those who are full of joy and those who are full of mourning. For all your people, God, we ask your blessings. And we ask that you send us to be your ministers in this world, equipping us with your Holy Spirit and your word. And may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be a sacrifice acceptable and pleasing to you, O Lord, our God. Amen. One of our regulars, Zach, messaged me and said, hey, what are you going to be talking about today? Because I love watching you work, but I need to not with the news. And I was like, yeah, I vibe on that. I see what you're doing. Unfortunately, it sort of is what it is. It's the lectionary, man. I don't pick it. Although I did see some very interesting... So there was at least one clip from last week that I was like getting all ready to put up on YouTube, and I was like clipping it and looking at it, and I was like, no, because it sort of, it feeds into a conversation about anti-Israelite and anti-Jewish sentiment in the Revised Common Lectionary, which is a thing that I sort of was aware of but hadn't really sat with. Yeah, in case it's relevant for anybody who actually sits long enough to watch the workshop. Hatred of people in general is bad. Hatred of nations of people, ethnicities, races, is very bad. Don't do that. That includes Jewish people. That includes Iranian and Persian people. Let's just not, with the hatred and the bombing and let's just not. So that's as much news as I'm going to do directly on that one. But just to say, the Revised Common Lectionary could be revised again. That wouldn't be the worst thing. We got some art. This donkey seems big mad. This donkey seems like it has something it would like to say to the guy. And also, I like Scrumdog. Good stuff. Proper 8. Ooh, see, now they're saying first reading in Psalm or alternate first reading in Psalm. That's nice. That is nice. I like that. Yeah, okay, but otherwise, all right. So this is what they're doing. Oh, I am fond of 2 Kings 2, though. I'm very fond of 2 Kings 2. This isn't the really good stuff of 2 Kings, but yeah, this is the extremely good stuff. It's not the really good stuff, which sometime I am sure you will get. I actually don't know if it's in the lectionary. The latter half of 2 Kings 2, Elisha is is chef's kiss. It's very good. And we're doing this now, which I think is helping with the visual experience for some of us, where we're going, ba-doop, ba-doop. 2 Kings 2, 1-2, and 6-14, Elijah ascends into heaven. Now, when the Lord was about to take Elijah up to heaven by a whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were on their way from Gilgal. Elijah said to Elisha, "Stay here, for the Lord has sent me as far as Bethel." But Elisha said, "As the Lord lives and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So they went down to Bethel. Then Elijah said to him, "Stay here, for the Lord has sent me to the Jordan." But he said, "As the Lord lives and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So the two of them went on. 50 men of the company of prophets also went and stood at some distance from them, as they were both standing by the Jordan. Then Elijah took his mantle and rolled it up and struck the water. The water was parted to one side and to the other, and the two of them crossed on dry ground. When they had crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, "Tell me what I may do for you before I am taken from you." And Elisha said, "Please let me inherit a double share of your spirit." He responded, "You have asked a hard thing. Yet, if you see me as I am being taken from you, it will be granted you. If not, it will not." And as they continued walking and talking, a chariot of fire and horses of fire separated the two of them, and Elijah ascended in a whirlwind into heaven. Elisha kept watching, crying out, "Father, Father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen." But when he could no longer see him, he grasped his own clothes and tore them in two pieces. He picked up the mantle of Elijah that had fallen from him and went back and stood on the bank of the Jordan. He took the mantle of Elijah that had fallen from him and struck the water. He said, "Where is the Lord, the God of Elijah? Where is he?" He struck the water again, and the water was parted to the one side and to the other, and Elisha crossed over. I love that passage. That's a fabulous passage. Hi, Audrey. Nice to see you. I think Enemy K is also lurking in chat. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll do interpretation later. Slow your roll. Psalm 77, verses 1-2 and 11-20. I cry aloud to God that he may hear me. In the day of my trouble I seek the Lord. In the night my hand is stretched out without wearying. My soul refuses to be comforted. I will call to mind the deeds of the Lord. I will remember your wonders of old. I will meditate on all your work and muse on your mighty deeds. Your way, O God, is holy. What God is so great as our God? You are the God who works wonders. You have displayed your might among the peoples. With your strong arm you redeemed your people, the descendants of Jacob and Joseph. Selah. When the waters saw you, O God, when the waters saw you, they were afraid. The very deep trembled. The clouds poured out water. The skies thundered. Your arrows flashed on every side. The crash of your thunder was in the whirlwind. Your lightnings lit up the world. The earth trembled and shook. Your way was through the sea, your path through the mighty waters, yet your footprints were unseen. You led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. All right, so that was one reading pair. That was 2 Kings and Psalm 77. Here is the other reading pair. 1 Kings 19, 15-16, and 19-21. Then the Lord said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael as king over Aram. Also you shall anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, as king over Israel, and you shall anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat of Abel-Meholah, as prophet in your place." So he set out from there and found Elisha, son of Shaphat, who was plowing. There were 12 yoke of oxen ahead of him, and he was with the 12th. Elijah passed him by and threw his mantle over him. He left the oxen, ran after Elijah, and said, "Let me kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow you." Then Elijah said to him, "Go back again, for what have I done to you?" He returned from following him, took the yoke of oxen, and slaughtered them. Using the equipment from the oxen, he boiled their flesh and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he set out and followed Elijah and became his servant. I'm just going to keep reading for a minute, and we're going to talk later. Psalm 16. Protect me, O God, for in you I take refuge. I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. I have no good apart from you. As for the holy ones in the land, they are the noble ones in whom is all my delight. Those who choose another god multiply their sorrows. Their drink offerings of blood I will not pour out or take their names upon my lips. The Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. I have a goodly heritage. I bless the Lord who gives me counsel. In the night also my heart instructs me. I keep the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand. I shall not be moved. Therefore my heart is glad and my soul rejoices. My body also rests secure. For you do not give me up to Sheol, or let your faithful one see the pit. You show me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. In your right hand are pleasures forevermore. Galatians chapter 5, verses 1 and 13 to 25. For freedom Christ has set us free. Stand firm, therefore, and do not submit again to a yoke of slavery. For you were called to freedom, brothers and sisters. Only do not use your freedom as an opportunity for self-indulgence, but through love become enslaved to one another. For the whole law is summed up in a single commandment: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. If, however, you bite and devour one another, take care that you are not consumed by one another. Live by the Spirit, I say, and do not gratify the desires of the flesh. For what the flesh desires is opposed to the Spirit, and what the Spirit desires is opposed to the flesh. For these are opposed to each other to prevent you from doing what you want. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not subject to the law. Now, the works of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, sorcery, enmities, strife, jealousy, anger, quarrels, dissensions, factions, envy, drunkenness, carousing, and things like these. I am warning you, as I warned you before, those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. By contrast, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against such things. And those who belong to Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live by the Spirit, let us also be guided by the Spirit. Luke chapter 9, verses 51 to 62. When the days drew near for him to be taken up, he set his face to go to Jerusalem, and he sent messengers ahead of him. On their way they entered a village of the Samaritans to prepare for his arrival, but they did not receive him because his face was set toward Jerusalem. When his disciples James and John saw this, they said, "Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down from heaven and consume them?" But he turned and rebuked them. Then they went to another village. As they were going along the road, someone said to him, "I will follow you wherever you go." And Jesus said to him, "Foxes have holes, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." To another he said, "Follow me." But he said, "Lord, first let me go and bury my father." And Jesus said to him, "Let the dead bury their own dead, but as for you, go and proclaim the kingdom of God." Another said, "I will follow you, Lord, but let me first say farewell to those at my home." And Jesus said to him, "No one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God." The word of the Lord. That sniff is part of the... As I do this more and more, I'm discovering the liturgy. Like, what are the things that I do every time? And what are the... And there's a sniff when I get to the end of the reading where I'm like, all right. Does he remember? Does he remember? Yeah, he remembered. This is a skippy one. Okay, I'm going to say right now, I'm going to pull out the whole 2 Kings reading, but there's absolutely no reason to do so because I know what it is. I need to check and see what is blowing up. Something, I'm getting notification after notification on my thing. Good. Cool beans. In news, oh, it's texting. It's my nerd friends texting. Nerd friends, I love you. I'm muting you for now. All right. Okay, so we're gonna figure out what's going on in the middle of Psalm 77. We're gonna figure out what's going on. I think I have a guess. I have a guess what's going on in the middle of 1 Kings. And Psalm 16 was good. Yet again, we're gonna do all the Galatians, and then we're gonna do Luke, and it's gonna be a party, and it's gonna take forever. Is everybody ready? You ready for this ride? I think if I were preaching, and I am, if I'm going to preach a sermon this week, it will be during this stream. If I am preaching this week, it is on 1 Kings 19 and Luke 9, and I've been called by God. Give me a minute. I need to finish what I'm doing. But I'm going to include the 2 Kings because actually I kind of want to see the other anointings that Elijah does. I always worry that I'm going to run afoul of copyright, but I'm going to sing the song from the Bible Abridged that helps me out so much with this particular thing. If you have lots of lepers, Elisha makes them better. If you have phony prophets, Elijah makes them deader. I hope everyone enjoyed that. And if I get a strike on my account, I'm going to be mad. But we will all deal with that as it comes to us. Yeah, right? Like, how else are you going to remember which one is which? The Bible Abridged was solid. It was not the complete works of Shakespeare Abridged, which was fabulous. But the Bible Abridged was really good stuff. I commend it to everyone. All right. Did I mess it up? I did mess it up. It doesn't like it when you do it that way. Don't forget your semicolons, kids. This advice brought to you by the very brief period of time I tried to pretend I was a computer programmer. So listen, y'all, I'm going to get I'm going to get copyright strikes. It's going to be bad. All right. 2 Kings. Yeah. Okay, this looks a little bit better. And now we're going to print mode. And then we're going to, and then we're going to, hey, Bible Gateway, I would love to not be doing print mode. But you got to help me out with that, with all those ads, Bible Gateway. Hit me up, Bible Gateway. I will be your influencer. Nice dreams. All right. Let's go. 2 Kings 2, 1-14. A good half of 2 Kings 2, not the best half. Now, the Lord was going to take Elijah up to heaven in a windstorm, and Elijah and Elisha were leaving Gilgal. Okay. We had a move for this, right? No, give me. Yeah. Oh no, because I had to be doing it here. I was doing it here. Google Earth. All Bible places. All right, and this was terrible, and I remember this being bad, but we're gonna try it anyway. All right, all Bible places. All right. Somewhere around here, there's Be'er-Sheva. So we're gonna do Gilgal. Gilgal. All right. So here's nope. Do not take me away from the Holy Land. See, we've got two different Gilgal streets, but I don't think that's... All right, we're going to pretend that this is Gilgal right here. So here's Jerusalem, and here's Gilgal, which is at the bottom of the big hill. Remember, this is the Dead Sea, and there's a really big drop-off, like 3,000 feet of vertical in not very many miles to get down there. Yes, this is a constant problem for me, that a whole bunch of places are named after places in the Bible, and like, I don't know, the Bethlehem in Pennsylvania is not the Bethlehem in Israel. So yes, that's fine. Okay, so we're gonna add a place mark to Gilgal. Okay. We're gonna save it to a project. And this is Gilgal. Okay. And then so Elijah and Elisha were leaving Gilgal. And Elijah said to Elisha, stay here, because the Lord has sent me to Bethel. Okay. So where's Bethel? Bethel, by the way, for those keeping track of the Hebrew at home, means the house of God. No. And like there was a Bothel close to where I was, but maybe there was a Bethel. Not sure which of several thousand Bethels this was, but it's not Bethlehem, which is Bethlehem, the house of bread. It is Bethel, which is like, try this one more time. Bethel. That is a completely reasonable reason for them to have been like, no. All right, Bethel. Okay, so we're gonna save the project. All right. So here's Gilgal and here's Bethel, and then stay here because the Lord has sent me to Bethel. And Elisha says, okay, I'll take that. Baitin? Audrey has dropped some hot truth into the chat. Yeah, close enough to the thing that they're talking about, and yeah, close to Ramallah, West Bank, sort of North Jerusalem. This does the job that I need, and I'll go ahead and I'll save that to project. That's good. And actually, I'm gonna hold on, because the save to project thing is now working great, and this is how I'm gonna do this from now on. This is the thing I was looking for. Gilgal. All right. Gilgal. Gilgal. Saved project. All right, now I'm going to trash this one. Delete. Okay, so we went from Gilgal, and we schlepped all the way up the hill to Ramallah, to Bethel Beitin. Like, this is no joke. Again, 3,000 feet of vertical. In fact, does it tell me? Gilgal. Israeli settlements north of Jericho. Okay. Does it have... All right. Neither of them has the thing that I want, which is the altitude. But we're just all gonna roll with it for a minute. All right. As the Lord lives and you live, I won't leave you. So they went down to Bethel. Which they did not go down. Let me be clear. They did not, as they would say in Hebrew, they did not make Yalida. They did not go down to Bethel. They made Aliyah. They went up to Bethel. And the group of prophets from Bethel came out to Elisha. So this is, Elisha is the, I think this is also, this may or may not be Bible abridged, but Elisha, the Luke Skywalker to Elijah's Obi-Wan Kenobi. The group of prophets from Bethel came out to Elisha, and these prophets said to Elisha, do you know that the Lord is going to take your master away from you today? Notice that today. And Elisha said, yes, I know. Don't talk about it. Fair enough. Elijah said, Elisha, stay here, because the Lord has sent me to Jericho. Okay. There we go, Jericho. Saved project. All right. And then, but Elisha said, as the Lord lives and as you live, I won't leave you. So they both went to Jericho. And the group of prophets from Jericho approached Elisha and said to him, do you know that the Lord is going to take your master away from you today? He said, yes, I know. Don't talk about it. And Elijah said to Elisha, stay here, because the Lord has sent me to the Jordan. Let's pretend for a moment. Yeah. Let's pretend that they went to the modern closest, right? Is here. And we'll say that I'm just gonna I had a button for add a place mark. We're going to say right here. All right. Jordan. Okay. So here's the trip. Let's see here. Fly to, and then I wanna do from here to here. Auto. What the devil is a smoot? Oh no, I do remember what smoots are. Never mind. All right. Okay, so it's 13 miles as the crow flies. We are not going to do this as the crow flies. I promise you we are not. And then it's another 27 or another 14 miles. So it's 13 to 14. It's 27 and then another 5 miles down to the Jordan. Okay. That's a total of 3,000 feet up, 3,000 feet down, and a little bit of a walk when you get there. All in the same day. My friends, I challenge you. I know some people who have. Has anyone walked 30 miles up 3,000 feet of vertical in a day? 30 miles up 3,000 feet, down 3,000 feet in one day. But I love the ping pong. Like, I wanted to take that moment of being like, this is ridiculous. This is an absolutely absurd route. Why is God doing this? Why is God punishing Elisha in this way? I know some ultra marathoners who I actually am going to ping one of them and be like, hey, if you tried to do 30 miles, including 3,000 feet of vertical in both directions, would you die? Okay. It's connecting to chat, it says. Okay. Hello. All right. We're now out of the geography section of our talk. And Elijah said to Elisha, stay here because the Lord has sent me to the Jordan. But Elisha said, as the Lord lives and as you live, I won't leave you. So both of them went on together. And 50 members from the group of prophets also went along, but they stood at a distance. I want to know if these are just the prophets from Jericho, or if these are the prophets from Jericho and also the prophets from Bethel who just like came along for the ride. Stood at a distance. Both Elijah and Elisha stood beside the Jordan. And Elijah then took his coat and he rolled it up and he hit the water. There's a definite, like, Elijah's coat is magic thing going on here. Elijah took his coat, rolled it up, and hit the water. Then the water was divided in two. Both of them crossed over on dry ground. When they crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, what do you want me to do for you before I'm taken away from you? Elisha said, let me have twice your spirit. Elijah said, you've made a difficult request. If you can see me when I'm taken from you, then it will be yours. If you don't see me, it won't happen. I love magic. Not sorcery, but magic. I love the magic of like, what do you want? I want your spirit twice. Cool. You have to watch while I go. All right. And everybody's just like, okay, sure. Of course, it makes sense that there's one magical scale that can kill the dragon. They were walking along, talking, when suddenly a fiery chariot and fiery horses appeared and separated the two of them. Then Elijah went to heaven in a windstorm. This is the, like, weather effects section of the Bible. Like, we had the earthquake and the fire and the wind. Like, there's some really good, like, nature encounters here. Elisha was watching and he cried out, oh, my father, Israel's chariots and its riders. When he could no longer see him, Elisha took hold of his clothes and ripped them in two. Then Elisha picked up the coat that had fallen from Elijah. He went back and stood, and obviously he had to pick up the coat from Elijah because he had just ripped his own clothing apart. He went back and stood beside the banks of the Jordan River. He took the coat that had fallen from Elijah and hit the water. He said, Where is the Lord, Elijah's God? And when he hit the water, it divided in two. And then Elisha crossed over. Cool beans. Everything's going great. I love it. I love this passage. So this was one of my, my mom retired from the pastorate last year, and I think I preached this passage. The passing of the mantle, right? Like the changing of the guard. It's a beautiful, beautiful passage. It's one of my favorites. I like Elisha's exclamation, "Oh, my father, Israel's chariots and its riders." I like the chariots of fire, which, if you are of a certain age, I just said chariots of fire, and you got a certain tune, bum, 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 in your head. All right. Psalm 77. I had questions, and I'm going to try and remember. We got, to the music leader, according to Jeduthun of Asaph, a psalm. I cry out loud to God, so that he can hear me. During the day when I'm in trouble, I look for my Lord. At night, my hands are still outstretched and don't grow numb. My whole being refuses to be comforted. Yeah, I liked that. Not liked, felt. I felt this. This sent me. My whole being refuses to be comforted. I remember God and I moan, I complain, and my spirit grows tired. Selah. Say what you like about the Common English Bible, and I've said plenty. Okay. In the day of my trouble, I seek the Lord. In the night, my hand is stretched out without wearying. Okay, this is verse 3. I feel this. I complain, and my spirit grows tired. You've kept my eyelids from closing. I'm so upset I can't even speak. I think about days long past. I remember years that seem an eternity in the past. I meditate with my heart at night. I complain, and my spirit keeps searching. Will my Lord reject me forever? Will he never be pleased again? Has his faithful love come to a complete end? Is his promise over for future generations? Has God forgotten how to be gracious? Has he angrily stopped up his compassion? Talk about your long, dark night of the soul. I feel that. It's my misfortune, I thought, that the strong hand of the Most High is different now. But I will remember the Lord's deeds. Yes, I will remember your wondrous acts from times long past. I will meditate on all your works. I will ponder your deeds. God, your way is holiness. Who is as great a God as you, God? You are the God who works wonders. You have demonstrated your strength among all peoples. With your mighty arm, you redeemed your people, redeemed the children of Jacob and Joseph. Give me a good turn in a poem. Give me a good, I was at this point and then I bounced off the bottom. The water saw you, God. The water saw you and reeled. Even the deep depths shook. The clouds poured water. The skies cracked thunder. Your arrows were flying all around. The crash of your thunder was in the swirling storm. Lightning lit up the whole world. The earth shook and quaked. Your way went straight through to the sea. Your pathways went right through the mighty waters, but your footsteps left no trace. You led your people like sheep under the care of Moses and Aaron. Mic drop. I'm very fond of, attributed in my head to C.S. Lewis, and I need to check myself on that one. But I'm very fond of a quote that, humility is not about thinking less of yourself, it's about thinking of yourself less. And this seems to me to be that particular vibe of Psalm. When I think about myself, I'm suffering. I'm so upset. I think about days long past. I meditate with my heart. I complain and my spirit keeps searching. Will he never be pleased again? Is his promise over? When I am thinking about how I feel, I am suffering. But when I remember the Lord, when I focus not on my lack, but on the Lord's abundance, then I find my vibe. All right. Not bad. So, Psalm 77. Okay. So 1 Kings 19, 15 to 21. And this is part 2 of Elijah fleeing from Jezebel and Ahab, And yeah. All right. The Lord said to him, "Go back through the desert to Damascus and anoint Hazael as king of Aram. Also anoint Jehu, Nimshi's son, as king of Israel, and anoint Elisha from Abel Meholah, Shaphat's son, to succeed you as prophet. Whoever escapes from the sword of Hazael, Jehu will kill. Whoever escapes from the sword of Jehu, Elisha will kill. But I have preserved those who remain in Israel, totaling 7,000, all those whose knees haven't bowed down to Baal and whose mouths haven't kissed him." Baal is a ancient Near Eastern semi-Babylonian storm deity, frequently represented as a calf, representing youth and masculine vigor and energy, and also the storms that bring rain and abundance. So a fertility deity, a youth deity, strength deity. And there's some interesting linguistic things going on with what's going on with the Ba, but the Al is not completely disconnected from the El of Elohim. Like this can be appropriately translated from some languages as Lord God. And so there's very interesting, like Baal as a direct affront to Adonai, to the God of the Israelites and his like whole portfolio. It's a lot of fun. So Elijah departed from there and found Elisha. So this is what they cut. This is all they cut was whoever escapes from the sword of Hazael, and I have preserved those who remain in Israel whose knees haven't bowed. Okay. So Elijah departed from there and found Elisha, Shaphat's son. I love doing Bible reading because I swear to you, I went to seminary. I have read the Bible really quite thoroughly. I don't want to say I sat and read it cover to cover because I'm not sure that I did. But I really have seen most of the Bible at one point or another. And I've preached the lectionary a lot when I have been in pulpits. I certainly should have gone through the lectionary at least twice. I don't remember this passage. I have no memory of this whatsoever. It's great. So Elijah departed from there and found Elisha, Shaphat's son. He was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him. Friends, do you remember how many yoke of oxen it was possible to buy in Oregon Trail? How many oxen can you buy in Oregon Trail? This is the kind of high quality content that you're looking for. Corresponding wagon with 3 oxen. Those trades are expensive. More than 2 oxen. Okay. So I remember there being a version of the Apple IIc Oregon Trail where you could buy like 16 oxen. Okay. In the Oregon Trail game, you typically start as AI. 3 yoke, 6 oxen. Okay. There are no differences other than the starting money. 9 yoke. Okay, this is it. If you're a banker, you can start with 9 yoke. That is 18 oxen. Elisha has 24 oxen. What are you plowing, Elisha? Is the entire field rocks? Why do you need that many oxen? Elisha was with the 12th yoke. Elijah met up with him and threw his coat on him. Elisha immediately left the oxen and... So what is going on here? Elisha immediately left the oxen and ran after Elijah. "Let me kiss my father and my mother's," Elisha said. "Then I will follow you." Elijah replied, "Go, I'm not holding you back." Elisha turned back from following Elijah, took the pair of oxen and slaughtered them. Then, with equipment from the oxen, Elisha boiled the meat, gave it to the people, and they ate it. Then he got up, followed Elijah, and served. My friends, if you really need a mook, if you really need a lackey, the way to do it is to find them plowing a field with far too many domestic draft animals. Throw your coat on them. Give them a few minutes to say goodbye to their families, to kill some of their, draft animals. Boil the meat of the draft animals with the plow that they just broke, And then that person will follow you and be faithful to you. And eventually, when you're carried into heaven on a chariot of fire, that person will watch you go and will be able to use your coat to split a river. I love being a Christian. It's so wild. Elijah met up with him and threw his coat. And I liked the NRSV here was so like, what? There were 12 yoke of oxen ahead of him. He was with the 12. Elijah passed by him and threw his mantle over him. Oh, apparently this is the way. It feels like this is how you tell somebody that you have a crush on, that you like them, is like you throw your coat on them. Like, oh man, Audrey, this was the thing. My recollection is that it was in fact possible to buy as many as, like, if you did nothing else, you could buy bullets and something like 20 yoke of oxen if you went with the banker. And you then set the pace to grueling. You only ate what you could shoot on the trail because you had bought the bullets. And that was it. Anything else that happened, you were screwed. And you set the grueling pace. And my recollection is that you could beat the game. Like, I don't remember there being time limits, but there was something where you could, like, absolutely wreck the timing. I am sure somebody has speedrun the Apple IIc version of the Oregon Trail and can inform me better. But I'm like, that was one of the things that you could do, was just like, because the game was not like, it was 1984. It wasn't that well programmed. More oxen equals more speed. And they would just go. I love this passage. This is not my favorite Elijah and Elisha story, but it's now rising in the rankings. All right. Cool. Elisha boiled the meat, gave it to the people, and they ate it, and they got up and followed Elijah and served him. Cool. Good job, Elisha. Good job, Elisha. Yeah, man. Classic. I think I might have been in 3rd grade. A miktam, perhaps an inscription, a thing of David. Psalm 16. Protect me, God, because I take refuge in you. I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you, I have nothing good. Now, as for the holy ones in the land, the magnificent ones that I was so happy about. Whoa! Hold the phone. Okay. So, for those of you keeping track at home, here's what the NRSV says for verses 3 and 4. As for the holy ones in the land, they are the noble ones, in whom is all my delight. Those who choose another god multiply their sorrows. Their drink offerings of blood I will not pour out, or take their names upon my lips. The Common English Bible reads, now, as for the holy ones in the land, the magnificent ones that I was so happy about, let their suffering increase, because they hurried after a different god. I won't participate in their blood offerings. I won't let their names cross my lips. Which of these two sounds more in character? One of these things is not like the other, and one of them sounds a lot more like David and like the psalmist, and I absolutely buy what CEB is doing, much more than what I just read of NRSV. And we'll do the thing. We're not going to get into Hebrew. We're not doing it. Audrey, enemy, I'm not doing it. Not falling into this. It's a trap. I'm aware that it is a trap. Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah. No, this is... Yep. I'm rolling with the Common English Bible on this one. I won't participate in their blood offerings. I won't let their names cross my lips. You, Lord, are my portion, my cup. You control my destiny. The property lines have fallen beautifully for me. Yes, I have a lovely home. Man, I feel like that is the sort of thing that That feels like a live, laugh, love. Like you should just have that on shiplap somewhere in your house. I will bless the Lord who advises me. Even at night I am instructed in the depths of my mind. I always put the Lord in front of me. I will not stumble because... No, wait a minute. No. I always put the Lord in front of me. Semicolon. I will not stumble because he is on my right side. My friends, this sounds to me like the recipe for like a Charlie Chaplin. You're just orbiting as the Lord. Because you're trying to keep the Lord in front of you, but he's on your right side. So you're just like turning. That's why my heart celebrates and my mood is joyous, because I'm that dizzy. Yes, my whole body will rest in safety, because you won't abandon my life to the grave. You won't let your faithful follower see the pit. You teach me the way of life, and your presence is total celebration. Beautiful things are always in your right hand. It's pretty good. Jumping back, Audrey dropped one about, all I know about Oxen comes from that being Oregon Trail and various BBC history documentaries. And I will say that the thing that immediately comes to my mind when I hear Oxen under discussion is Benjamin Franklin, who is one of the Penates of Philadelphia. Sort of one of the like, everybody has a Franklin quote in their back pocket. Benjamin Franklin, who once said, "Calling me an Englishman is like calling an ox a bull. He's grateful for the honor, but he'd rather have restored to him that which is rightfully his." And that, it felt pretty real. Hebrew inserted in 16:3 and 4. Hebrew lacks because and God in 16:4. Yeah. No, I like what they did here in the Common English Bible. Oh, Galatians, you foolish Galatians. Christ has set us free for freedom. Therefore stand firm and don't submit to the bondage of slavery again. Look, I, Paul, am telling you that if you have yourselves circumcised, having Christ won't help you. Again, I swear to every man who has himself circumcised that he's required to do the whole law. You people who are trying to be made righteous by the law have been estranged from Christ. You've fallen away from grace. We eagerly wait for the hope of righteousness through the Spirit by faith. Being circumcised or not being circumcised doesn't matter in Christ Jesus, but faith, working through love, does matter. You were running well. Who stopped you from obeying the truth? This line of reasoning doesn't come from the one who calls you. A little yeast works through the whole lump of dough. I'm convinced about you and the Lord that you won't think any other way, but the one who is confusing you will pay the penalty, whoever that may be. Brothers and sisters, if I'm still preaching circumcision, why am I still being harassed? In that case, the offense of the cross would be canceled. I wish that the ones who are upsetting you would castrate themselves. Wow. Bible out of context. You were called to freedom. Brothers and sisters, only don't let this freedom be an opportunity to indulge your selfish impulses, but serve each other through love. All the law has been fulfilled in a single statement. Love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour each other, be careful that you don't get eaten up by each other. I say be guided by the Spirit, and you won't carry out your selfish desires. A person's selfish desires are set against the Spirit, and the Spirit is set against one's selfish desires. They are opposed to each other. So you shouldn't do whatever you want to do. Oh, that makes so much more sense. Yeah. For some reason, the difference of the vibe between, for what the flesh desires is opposed to the Spirit, and what the Spirit desires is opposed to the flesh, for these are opposed to each other, to prevent you from doing what you want. I want whatever you want. Because without that, it just sounds like you are prevented from doing the things that you think you should be doing. So you shouldn't do whatever you want to do. But if you're being led by the Spirit, you aren't under the law. The actions that are produced by selfish motives are obvious, since they include sexual immorality, moral corruption, doing whatever feels good, idolatry, drug use and casting spells, hate, fighting, obsession, losing your temper, competitive opposition, conflict, selfishness, group rivalry, jealousy, drunkenness, partying, and other things like that. Partying on a level with idolatry, hate. It just, the list feels weird. That's all I'm saying. I warn you, as I've already warned you, that those who do these kinds of things won't inherit God's kingdom. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There's no law against things like this. Those who belong to Christ have crucified the self with its passions and its desires. If we live by the Spirit, let's follow the Spirit. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. My friends, by their fruits ye shall know them. By their fruits ye shall know them. Test the people to whom you look up and ask them if they display love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. I beg you. Those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the self with its passions and its desires. All right. Oh, we're at the hour mark. I don't know how much time we're going to have for Greek. I'm still going all right, though. Okay. As the time approached and Jesus would be taken up into heaven, he determined to go to Jerusalem. He sent messengers on ahead of him. Along the way, they entered a Samaritan village to prepare for his arrival. But the Samaritan villagers refused to welcome him because he was determined to go to Jerusalem. Why? What? When the disciples James and John saw this, they said, "Lord, do you want us to call fire?" That is such a flex. That is James and John, like, because at no other point have they cast flame strike on any offending villages or goats or anything. As far as we know, it's not reported. Lord, do you want us to call fire down from heaven to consume them? But Jesus turned and rebuked them, spoke sternly to them. I want to know what Jesus said. I want to know what his line was. No, guys, don't call down fire on the village. What do you know? Start a forest fire. Why? Why did Jesus? What? As Jesus and his disciples traveled along the road, someone said to him, "I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens, and the birds in the sky have nests, but the human one has no place to lay his head." Jesus, that's not... Jesus, that's not a response to the thing that the guy... Okay. Then Jesus said to someone else, "Follow me." He replied, "Lord, first let me go and bury my father." Jesus said to him, "Let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and spread the news of God's kingdom." Jesus, the dead are dead. They can't bury anybody. And this guy, you told him to follow you, and now he's not going to follow you. He's just going to wander around telling people how cool God's kingdom is. Someone else said to Jesus, "I will follow you, Lord, but first let me say goodbye to those in my house." Jesus said to him, "No one who puts a hand on the plow and looks back is fit for God's kingdom." Like maybe, for example, possibly Elisha? Jesus! Why are you hating? Okay, Audrey, I'm gonna use a different window for this. By Rampage, what do you mean? Is this a television program with which I'm unfamiliar? Oh, is this the 2018 American science fiction monster film? Because that's a lot. Series. Okay. Okay. All right. I have missed the arcade game. I'm now looking into the arcade game. I now have more information. about the arcade. I've got a cross reference with an old arcade fighter that I played called Primal Rage, where it was all like dinosaurs. I got in such big trouble. This was the kind of house that I was raised in. I got in trouble because I bought an SNES with my own money, and then bought with my own money Primal Rage, and I turned the gore on Primal Rage all the way up. I'm positive that I could find, and in fact, maybe I should. Maybe this is the stream that I should do. I could find Primal Rage somewhere on the internet and play it, and you could see that me having the gore turned up all the way up on Primal Rage is kind of a silly. It was fine. It was that I was sneaking. That's what I shouldn't have been doing. That was the bad thing. I could have just said, it's a dinosaur fighting game, and my parents would have been like, okay. I like this passage. I like this Luke passage because it has very much the vibe of, okay, you remember all of those really wild things that Jesus said that one time when we were on our way to Jerusalem and people kept saying stuff to him and he like just replied the most unhinged. Someone was like, I will follow you wherever you go. And he started talking about foxes. Like, I was wild. I love it. All right. We got a few minutes. I got brain enough for at least a little bit of Greek. Audrey or Enemy, call it. Do you guys want... Your choices are Galatians or Luke. Anybody who pops in and answer, whoever. Galatians, but we're not going to do the whole thing. We're just going to do the lectionary verses. Let that sit for a moment. All right, I'm gonna roll a die. I'm gonna flip a coin. Heads, it's Galatians. Tails, it's... No, heads, it's the gospel. Come on. Heads, it's the gospel. Tails, it is... Heads, it's the gospel! That's the obverse. I know coin words. All right, so our passage is... Luke 9. Againito, and it came to pass that in the Simplurestae, when the time was come, when the day was come, the day of Nalithos, the day of his being received up, and he the face of him, sorry, and it happened when the day of his being received up, the day that he should be received up, had come, and he, God bless suffering and exalting. Thanks so much for stopping in. And he, right, and he, the prosopon, the face of him, estetizen, he steadfastly set to go into Jerusalem. I don't know what's happening in the Greek here. I'm a little bit bemused, bewildered with the Greek. Okay. And he, it's the comma here that's killing me, I think. Because it's, and he turned his face, like, to go into Jerusalem. And this, too, also is kind of wild. Also, yeah, it's genitive, singular masculine. Okay. And it came to pass, and again, when the Hemera, when the day Sumpleru had arrived, that he should be received up of his, when the day had arrived of his being received up. He Oxen Steridzo, he steadfastly said, the face of him to go, and this is an infinitive, this seems right, into Jerusalem. His face. And there's just a 2 floating in there for no reason. Okay. Thanks, King James. All right. And he sent messengers before him, before his face. And he sent messengers before his face. And they went and entered into into a village of the Samaritan, to make ready for him. Okay, right. Into the Komain, into the yeah. All right. I don't know what's going on with Jesus' face. That's all I'm saying at this point, is what is happening to and with Jesus' face. He sent messengers before his face. And everyone's just like, okay. Sent messengers on ahead of him. Set his face to go to Jerusalem, and he sent messengers ahead of his face. Okay. And they went and entered into a village of the Samaritans to make ready for him. And they did not edaxanto him, not them, but him. And they did not receive, I think welcome is a decent read there, him, because he had set his face as though he would go into Jerusalem. And they did not receive him because his face was as though he would go to Jerusalem. So there's a whole thing with the Samaritans about the fact that they don't worship at Jerusalem. They worship at the older holy places that some Israelites and Judaites worshipped at before Jerusalem was founded and before the temple was built. There's a whole political imperial thing going on there. And also, where is the presence of the Lord and the Ark of the Covenant and all these things, right? So I get the thing, the vibe here is we live in a village where we all go to Disneyland, but this guy seems to mean to go to Universal Studios, and so we're just not going to welcome him because... So there's a piece of this where this is absolutely a violation of hospitality. That they should welcome Jesus. They should open their doors and feed him, because that's what you do with guests and strangers and travelers. You just welcome them in. And they're not going to do it because he's going to the wrong, he's going to the wrong town. He's going to the wrong holy place. I got to remind myself. Yeah. Okay. I will give... This is a callback. This is a deep cut. Is that James and John are also called the sons of thunder. And the sons of, in the biblical sense, has a sense of the very essence of, which is why Jesus is called the Son of Man. So these bros, the sons of thunder, ask Jesus, Lord, do you want us to call fire down from heaven to consume them? Which makes more sense if you know that these are the sons of thunder. I like that, actually, as a, I do. If, I know myself, if Jesus had called me into discipleship, and I was following him around and watching him do miracles, and I knew that I had power from God, I would, A, want to have tested it to make sure that it worked. Like, or not even to make sure that it worked, like figure out how it worked. So if somebody was like, yeah, welcome to Jesus's entourage, you are the sons of thunder. And I would have looked at my bro and been like, does that mean we can, And then we would have gone out into the hills and been like, all right, let's put some parameters on this. Like, how does this work? Once I had figured out that this was a thing that it was possible for me to do, I would then want to do it every single chance I got. And I can't. So this makes a lot more sense of why Jesus turned and spoke sternly to them and they went on to another village. Because it was not the first time that James and John had been, hey, Jesus, is it time for us to, right. Yeah, some olive tree, some fig tree that had offended the Lord. I gotta, as I said earlier, I gotta cast my flame strike on it. All right. And when the disciples saw, when his disciples, James and John, Jacobos and Ioannis, they said, Lord, do you want that we command fire to come down from heaven? And Analosai consume. Yeah, what are you doing, Analosai? Like, are you actually to eat, or are you a thing that fire does? Oh, was this the one where Blue Letter was starting to get a little shaky for me a little bit ago? Yeah, let's keep going. To consume them as Elias, as Elijah. So this is one of the problems with Elijah, Elisha is, which one is it? Even as Elias did. And both of our other ones are saying, oh, CEB skips it entirely. So too does the Luke. Interesting. King James, what you doing, bro? So this is the TR New Testament. Yeah, just as and I imagine this is Elijah, probably, but it's always hard to tell. When is disciples James? But he's Thrafes, he strafed them. And he Epitimesen, and I remember we did a whole dive on this one where that seems better. Epitimao is, I believe, the one that is both to tax upon, to censure, or admonish, by implication to forbid, to straitly charge, to rebuke. And it's coming to us from Timao, which this one is. Oh, and I talked about this. Yeah, tomorrow is to prize, to revere, to honor, to value. So epitimao seems like a weird, like, he honored on them? He called upon their honor, something like that. But this was a rookie mistake that I made, that this looks an awful lot like timeo, which is the Greek, the Latin word for to fear, but it is not closely linguistically connected. And he said, don't you know what manner of spirit you are of? Wow. He turned and rebuked them and said, do you not know of what manner of spirit you are? And both the NRSV. Whoa. What's going on? Luke 9. For the Son of Man does not come to apolesai, to destroy the lives of men, but to save, but to save them, presumably them. And they went into another village. Dudes, Luke 9, 55 and 56. Why are we soft pedaling? All right. Okay. Let's go find my commentaries, because that's like a lot of skip. For the Son of Man does not come to destroy the lives of men, but to save them. It's got to be one of those. It's not in the really, really old ones that we have, so we've skipped over it. All right. I feel it. I felt my brain just do a thing. It is that thing that my brain does when it says, "You done, boy. You done." So, Audrey, NMK, great to see you. Thanks for stopping by. If not sermon, why sermon shaped? The sermon this week is probably something to the effect of, we're all called to certain things. We're all called by God to certain vocations. It is also important that we maintain our connection with the rest of the world. And it's weird that Jesus threw that. No, I think, I don't know that I would do the sermon just on this, but I'm really struck by the fact that Elisha stopped and made dinner. I don't know, man. It is possible that my sermon for this week, based on sort of some of the response to some stuff from last week, is self-care is important and care of your community is important. Care of your community is important. If you're called to something new, stop. Kill your oxen. Boil them with the leftover bits of your yoke, and then leave to follow your spiritual teacher. Something like that. But yeah, no. Yeah, I think the sermon this week would be about how the call of the Lord is important, and it is ultimately important. But we also need to care for one another. The entire law is summed up in this one commandment, that you love your neighbor as yourself. And caring for one another sometimes means sacrificing our own tools and our own abilities on one another's behalf so that we can eat and build mutual networks of support. So go do that today. Amen. It's got to be kill some oxen. I might have to frame the whole thing in the Oregon Trail. Audrey, Enemy, great to see you. Thanks so much. Everybody else who's tuning into this later, thanks for being a part of the network. Blue Sky is a place for me to be funny. YouTube is a place for me to do clips of everything that you just saw. Catch me on Twitch most weeks. I was asked to... Oh, the 6th of July, I will be preaching at Honeybrook Presbyterian? I'm checking myself here. Honeybrook Presbyterian. It's a bit of a schlep for me, but I'll be preaching over at Honeybrook Presbyterian. I haven't asked them if they do streaming, but I will ask them if they do streaming and let you know where to look it up. And if they don't do streaming but they do videos, then I will let you know what that link is. And if neither of those things happen, then you have to see it live. But I will. So they want the info for that bulletin by the 2nd. So I will do my streaming next week at the usual time, which is on the 30th. But I also need to drop them a note so that on the 29th, they include a thing in the bulletin about, hey, our pastor is blah, blah, blah. And you can see some prep. And that will be nice. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. It was great to see you. Good vibes. God bless. We will see you next time.